Welcome back. In this video, we're going to be looking at types, specifically integer types. So basically, let's first look at integer. So integer follows the same uh, definition as mathematics. So an integer is just a whole number, so we can have things like 0, 42, 3,276, and we can also have negative numbers, negative 4, negative 10,000, and so on. Now, we can also have positive integers, okay, which follows the mathematical definition, so just positives as well. Okay. Now, these are common things that we want to store on a computer, is just positive integers or integers in general. So the first thing that we need to think about is when storing integers, how much space should I give them in memory? Do I give them 1 byte? Do I give them 2 bytes? Do I give them 3 bytes? And so on. So this is actually a difficult question to answer. With the example that we saw in the last video, we had this number 3,276, and we knew that we needed 2 bytes to store this number. But often is the case that you won't know what the value is going to be. So for example, if the user enters it, or it's the result of some calculation. So this comes from experience and common sense. So for example, if you're storing, let's say, temperatures as whole numbers in degrees Celsius, you're probably going to have fairly small numbers, and you could probably get away with using 1 byte. If you're doing very large numbers for some big calculations, you might need to go all the way up to 4 bytes. Now, this is a decision that you have to make, okay? And you also need to make the decision, do you just need positive numbers, or do you need all of the integers? Okay, so you need to make that decision. Is my values going to always be positive, or are they going to be negative as well? Now, we've got the types listed here, okay, in this nice handy chart. Let's stop scrolling. There we go, beautiful. All right, so we've got char, int, short, and long. So here we can see that a char is 1 byte, okay? And it has a range of negative 128 to 127. We've got an int, which is 2 or 4 bytes. On our system, it's going to be 4 bytes. Int changes depending on the programming environment. Short is 2 bytes and long is 4 bytes. Now, if we have a look at these, we can have a look at the range here. That should have a negative there. Okay. We can see that we can store different sizes of numbers. Okay. And so we can have a look here, and we can store very small numbers in a char. We can store a lot larger numbers in an int or a long. And we can store smaller numbers in a short. Now, a lot of people ask, why don't we just use the largest type always? Well, because we want to be memory conscious, and so we don't have infinite memory, so we need to make an informed decision of, okay, I don't need to use this large amount of memory, so I'll just use a short. Now, even though I'm saying this, it's always better to be safe than to save memory. So if there's a 0.001% chance that when using a short that you might get a number larger than this, then always go to the larger type. Even if it's extremely rare chance that it might happen, still go to the larger type. It's better to be safe. Now we can also see these unsigned versions. Okay, so I've got unsigned int, unsigned short, unsigned long, and so on. We've also got signed car. Car depends on the system. So it could either be negative or positive depending on how it's set up. So you can force it to be signed here. Okay, and that's just easier to use. We're mostly going to be using car for characters, as we'll see soon, so it doesn't really matter. But if we have a look at this unsigned version, unsigned just means no sign, so no negative sign. Okay, so it just means that these are positive numbers. So we can see that unsigned car is 0255, whereas signed car is negative 128 to 127. Or with our short, our unsigned short is 0 to 65535. Now, what you'll notice is that with our unsigned version, we have a lot larger range in the positives than we do with our unsigned version. So if we go back to what we looked at last week, we notice that the number of bytes is the same. Okay, so let's have a look at the difference between unsigned car, which is 1 byte, and signed car, which is also 1 byte. So with the unsigned, we have the whole 8 bits to represent the number. With the signed, however, we only have 7 bits. And the reason for that is because this bit means something different. Okay, this bit is the sign bit, which tells us if the number is negative or positive. So you need to keep that in mind, that when using unsigned, you actually get a larger range in the positives. Okay. Now, other than that, we'll look at how to use that in the next couple of videos.